Have you ever started a conversation with a friend only to have it turn into something that seemed like an in depth discussion from a medical reality show? It can be really uncomfortable, can't it? Be honest. Have you ever been the one to share too much information about your medical conditions in a casual conversation? Have you ever asked yourself why? We've all had those moments when the check engine light for our health doesn't just flicker, it stays on. Maybe it was a diagnosis that felt like you hit a wall, or a sudden recovery period that turned your active retirement into a series of doctor's visits. I remember standing in that fog wondering, is this it? Is this season of my life of impact over because my body is slowing down? If you felt that fog of health issues, the loneliness of transition you didn't ask for, stick around because today's episode is for you. We're talking about how a medical crisis doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can actually be the catalyst for your greatest legacy. We spent years focused on the numbers in our investment portfolios, but could we be honest for a moment? Your true wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in the accumulated wisdom you gain just by living long enough to retire. The challenges you survived are exactly what others need to hear about. For me, it started with arthritis in my knees. Constant pain, swelling, the works. It led to not one, but both my knees being replaced, and then a third surgery to repair damage done over the time to my kneecap. Then, just when I was back in the saddle, living in victory, my hip began screaming for attention. It took nearly 2 years to get that replaced, and by the time I did, my whole world was framed by the pain, the limitations, and the loss of belief that my world would ever be right again. If you've gone through something like this, or perhaps something even more devastating, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Dreams just tend to evaporate when pain defines our world. Those years of constant discomfort could have ruined my life, but by God's grace, that experience led to something amazing. I realized that the dreams I had for my retirement when I was 40 didn't take into account the life changes that accompany being in my sick. I had to look at life differently now, and that was okay. In fact, it was better than okay. It was just what I needed to pull out of the depression and start seeing a bright future again. My prayer is that if you've been through something like I've been through, I can help you discover the value in changing how you frame life and see your future. When you do, you'll discover a joy in living that might have eluded you. You'll feel empowered to use all life dealt you to help others live better lives. Chronic pain is real and the consequences can be devastating. There is a way to keep it from being life defining. That comes when you elevate your thinking by consciously choosing to refocus on something other than what went wrong. Think about it. If your every waking moment is spent measuring your losses, eventually all becomes lost. You frame everything according to pain and frustration and disappointment. It can turn you into someone you don't even know. When you consciously choose to refocus your attention on something that breathes life into you instead of death into your soul, you'll find the courage to deal with things that you face. If you choose to remain focused on the pain, you'll lose the battle before you knew you were at war with your mind. For me, the change came because I needed to make each day count whether or not I could comfortably walk. Yes, I had to walk away from things I loved, but I used that time to research what made retirement a prison sentence for some and a dream come true for others. What I learned changed what I thought. I worked harder at doing the things I had to do before the surgeon would replace my hip. I thought about something worthwhile instead of dwelling on my losses. My mental healing started months before my hip surgery. It started when I elevated my thinking by using what I had instead of mourning what I lost. When you realize that life is more than your most recent medical diagnosis, you're free to live again. One of the reasons I believe I'm doing what I'm doing is because setbacks will always be a part of aging. Knowing what to do when they happen is the key to living a fulfilling fourth season. You know, the mission of the Finding Meaning and Purpose in Retirement podcast is to help older Americans discover their why. It's the why behind their years. When they do, meaning and purpose are sure to follow. Before we dive into the framework that helped me navigate my own health hurdles, I want to invite you into a space where you don't have to walk alone. If you're looking for a community of like minded people who are rediscovering their spark after 60, join our free school community. It's a safe place to share your wins and find encouragement on the hard days. All you have to do is go to school.com, SKOOL.com, and look for purposeful retirement. You know, when the medical crisis hit, I had to use a specific process to keep from sinking. I called it the Purposed Framework. P is for pause. Recognize that life has changed. Take a moment to breathe and reflect and see that God is inviting you into a new season. U is for uncover. Uncover the fog and the frustration. Don't mask it. See what's underneath all that disappointment. U is for uncover. Confront the fog and the frustration. Don't mask it. Let's go see what's underneath the disappointment. R, release. Let go of the roles you can no longer play and that old version of yourself. Focus on what you can change today. P is for pinpoint. That emptiness you feel, it's not a void. That's the space where God's ready to plant your next spark. O is for observe. Look for the whispers. Pay attention to the small nudges that God is placing in your path, even from a hospital bed or a recovery chair. S is for surround. This is why community matters. Engage with people who fuel your fire, not just those who talk about their ailments. E is for elevate. This is a muscle. Every time you navigate a challenge, your ignition muscle gets stronger for whatever comes next. I know writing your story might sound daunting, especially when you're tired. That's why I created a specific resource for you. This week, I'm featuring a free guide at clarifyfocus.com. Just click on the resources tab at clarifyfocus.com, and you'll find help as you narrate your unique journey in a way that leaves a legacy for your children and grandchildren without feeling like a know-it-all. It turns your hard-won insights into powerful wisdom for the next generation. You know, your health might change, but your calling doesn't have an expiration date. If this episode spoke to you, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or share it with one friend who might be struggling with their own health transition right now. Finally, grab that storytelling guide at clarifyfocus.com and start turning the losses into lessons. I'll see you in the school community.